When I was young, my mother used to describe me as a child who couldn't stay seated for long. Once I started studying, I rarely lasted more than 15 minutes. I would get up to drink water, go to the bathroom, leave my seat. Sitting still for an hour always felt difficult. For years, I carried this quiet shame. I thought something was wrong with me, that I lacked the discipline other children seemed to have. It wasn't until much later, while preparing my own classes, that I encountered something that changed the way I saw my childhood self. There is a long-standing belief in educational research that sustained attention begins to decline after roughly 10 to 15 minutes of passive listening. This idea has circulated widely, shaping how lectures are designed, how teachers structure their lessons, and how we think about the limits of the human mind. A 2016 review in Advances in Physiology Education explored this belief in depth. The author, Neil Bradbury, examined the primary studies often cited to support the 10 to 15-minute claim, and found that the evidence was surprisingly thin. Many of the original studies suffered from methodological limitations, relying on self-reports or indirect measures. Bradbury concluded that while there is likely some variability in attention across a lecture, the exact duration of an attention span has not been reliably established. He also noted that the greatest differences in student attention seem to arise not from the format of a lecture, but from differences between teachers, the way material is presented, the rhythm and warmth of delivery. So perhaps I wasn't a problematic child at all. Perhaps I was simply average. Perhaps attention, even then, was not a fixed internal capacity, but something shaped by conditions, by interest, by context, by whether the moment invited me in or held me at a distance. What's more interesting to me now is who I have become. These days, when I become absorbed in my work, 1 or even 2 hours pass quickly. Time feels shorter, almost as if it slips by unnoticed. I look up and the light has changed. The whole morning is gone and I feel no fatigue, only a quiet sense of fullness. Why does this happen? Is it because the work is enjoyable? Because it is no longer studying but research? Because I feel I am creating something new or uncovering something unknown? Is it because there is a financial purpose attached to it? Or is it because the act of thinking and having these conversations is in itself deeply satisfying? The psychologist Csikszentmihalyi dedicated much of his career to understanding these moments. He called this experience flow, a state in which a person becomes so absorbed in an activity that everything else seems to fall away. Time, self-consciousness, even hunger or discomfort, all of it recedes into the background. Csikszentmihalyi described flow not as a rare gift or a talent, but as a condition that arises when certain elements align. The task must be challenging enough to engage us, but not so difficult that it overwhelms. There must be clear goals and immediate feedback, and we must have enough skill to meet the challenge before us. When these conditions come together, something shifts. We stop watching the clock. We stop managing ourselves. We simply do. In his seminal work, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, Csikszentmihalyi described how people in flow often report a distorted sense of time. Hours can feel like minutes, or sometimes a single moment stretches into something vast. This temporal distortion is not incidental, it is one of the hallmarks of the state. When attention is fully absorbed, there is no room left to track time. The self dissolves into the activity. I find it comforting to consider flow not as something we achieve through willpower, but as something that arises when we align ourselves with the right conditions. It is less about effort and more about fit between who we are, what we know, and what the task asks of us. Another framework that helps me understand this comes from the psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, who developed what is known as self-determination theory. Their research, spanning decades and published across numerous journals, has identified 3 basic psychological needs that support intrinsic motivation: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy is the sense that we are acting from our own volition, that our actions align with our values and interests. Competence is the feeling that we are capable, that we can meet the challenge in front of us. Relatedness is the feeling of connection to others, to a community, to something larger than ourselves. When these needs are satisfied, we are more likely to engage deeply. We are more likely to persist, And, crucially, we are more likely to lose track of time, not because we are distracted, but because we are fully present. A study by Regina Conti, published in the Journal of Personality in 2001, explored this very connection. Participants who scored higher on measures of intrinsic motivation reported checking the time less often, feeling that time passed more quickly, and losing track of time more frequently. Those who were more aware of time tended to feel that it was moving slowly, and their experiences were less positive overall. The relationship between motivation and time, Conti suggested, is not merely incidental, it is central to how we experience our days. When I think back to my childhood self, the child who could not sit still, who felt time stretching and pressing, I no longer see a failing, I see a mismatch. The task was not aligned with my interests, the conditions did not invite me in. I was trying to force focus rather than finding it. And when I think about the work I do now, the writing, the research, the slow unfolding of ideas, I understand that my capacity for attention has not fundamentally changed. What changed is the relationship between myself and the activity. Perhaps I haven't learned how to focus better. Perhaps I've simply learned how to remain more comfortably with what I am doing. The tension between time and myself has softened. And when that tension fades, time no longer feels like it's urging me forward. This doesn't mean that every hour must be filled with flow. Life includes waiting rooms and paperwork. It includes tasks that do not invite us but must be done. But knowing that our experience of time is not fixed, that it bends and shifts according to how we engage, offers a kind of quiet freedom. We can notice when time drags and ask, what is missing here? We can notice when it flies and ask, what made that possible? So if you find yourself watching the clock, restless and uneasy, perhaps that is not a deficiency. Perhaps it is information. A signal that something in the alignment between you and the moment has not yet found its shape. And if you find yourself lost in time, hours vanishing into what you love, perhaps that is worth protecting. Not as productivity, not as achievement, but as a rare and gentle kind of presence.